future Hall of Famer, was released late Tuesday night for being too critical of the team. We'll see if Paul's departure keeps the Clippers in a feel-good atmosphere. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Happy holidays!
This holiday season, KBLA Talk 1580 wishes you and yours joy, peace, and prosperity. As we celebrate with family and friends, we're already looking forward to an exciting first quarter, packed with must-attend events to kick off the new year just right. In January, join us for our inaugural Brotherhood Brunch, bringing together community leaders, change makers, and everyday people for inspiration and connection. February means it's time for our signature Black History Month luncheon, a powerful celebration you won't want to miss. And in March, Women's History Month, we're once again hosting our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium and Luncheon, addressing the issues that matter most inside our community. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, happy holidays. Stay tuned for more details on these incredible upcoming events. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice, your community, your power.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, two conversations. It's Thursday, so up first, another walk-on song. We shall see what it is today. And another deep dive with Dr. Cornel West to kick off Hour 2. On the B side of Hour 2, Oliver Chi, the city manager in Santa Monica, California, comes in studio to talk about reparations paid to the family of Silas White, the black entrepreneur who had his Ebony Beach Club seized by the city of Santa Monica back in the 1950s. His family finally got paid. In our third hour, Dr. Willie James Jennings takes us inside Yale Divinity School's new Echo Theological Residence Hall and marks 15 years since the release of his seminal text, The Christian Imagination, Theology, and the Origins of Race. Should be a powerful hour today in the final hour of this program. But in this first hour, two more conversations. On the B side of this hour, Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead on this week's 160th anniversary of the end of chattel slavery in America, and how we should be preparing for the 100th anniversary of Black History commemorations come February 2026. But we commence today's show in conversation with U.S. Representative Lauren Underwood, Democrat, Illinois, about all the drama with ICE in Chicago. Congresswoman, how are you today? Good to have you on.
Hi, Tavis. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Let me just start with your overview of what's happening in Chicago right about now. We're all following this, of course. We see, news every day about these ICE raids in Chicago. How would you define what's happening in the Chicago area right about now vis-a-vis these ICE raids?
Well, we've heard from immigration enforcement officials who work for Kristi Noem and Donald Trump who has told us that the whole state of Illinois is being pursued for immigration enforcement. They lied and told us they were going after the worst of the worst and criminals and all the rest. But what we've seen is innocent American citizens being snatched off the streets, a lot of chaos and violence that is ongoing. And even though U.S. Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino has now left town and moved on to New Orleans, the immigration enforcement and the violent tactics continue throughout Illinois every day.
Let me go back to what you said a moment ago, because that's there's something that I think needs to be unpacked here. We have become so accustomed to this lying in the Trump era that the lying, to my mind, is becoming normalized, and that's a dangerous thing. But you're right about the fact that they lied when they said they were going after the worst of the worst. That is not at all what they've been doing. Unpack that lie for me, if you will.
Well, we've seen them be really candid when they come forward and say that they don't care anything about our constitutional rights. They don't care about our right to due process. They don't care about the Fourth, Fifth, or Sixth Amendments to the Constitution, which protects all persons, not just U.S. citizens. But then they choose to lie when they talk about targeting, when they talk about code of conduct for their officers, when they talk about how many people they have abducted, how many people they've arrested, how many people are currently being detained. They are not forthcoming about where people are being held or the conditions under which they're being held. They are not admitting members of Congress or U.S. senators into their detention or processing facilities, right? So there's a lot of deception. There's a lot of, these officers not being forthcoming with the truth. They are completely unresponsive to inquiries. And, it's devastating when you can witness the violence before your very eyes. And then you hear officials telling you, oh, no, we don't pursue. Oh, no, there's no property damage. Oh, no, we've never arrested a U.S. citizen. Oh, no, there's no one being detained at this facility, right? And so we are able to call out those lies in real time. And obviously, we are aggressively, urgently seeking the truth and trying to offer full transparency to the American people.
When they are not responsive, as you said, to inquiries, particularly and especially congressional inquiries, no less, they're not responsive to those inquiries. They're not allowing members of Congress into these detention and processing centers. When all of that is the way they're moving and showing up, how does one go about honoring one's oversight responsibility?
That's right. So, the United States Congress, and as outlined in Article 1 of the United States Constitution, has a very important oversight responsibility. I, as a member of Congress from Northern Illinois, serve on the Appropriations Committee. That's the committee in charge of funding federal agencies and offices. And I served as the senior most Democrat, we call that ranking member, on the subcommittee that funds the Department of Homeland Security. And written into our funding bill that's then signed into law, so federal law every year, is a requirement that members of Congress get admitted into these facilities. We don't have to give prior notice. We need to be able to gain admission to any federal immigration facility. And that has been the law on the books for years, Tavis. And during the shutdown, as you know, and your listeners know, we just came out of a 6-week shutdown where the president was off around the world and the Republicans were on a taxpayer-funded vacation and they didn't want to deal with the real urgent healthcare needs of the American people. During that shutdown, the Department of Homeland Security unilaterally, uniformly, blanketly denied members of Congress access to these immigration facilities while they dialed up the violence, the terrorism, the fear, the chaos in our communities. So as soon as we funded the government in November, I reached out to the department and demanded access to the Broadview Processing Center just outside the Chicago city limits, where there have been, at least 1,000 individuals who have moved through this facility. There's ongoing litigation that has told us about the, inhumane, unsanitary, dangerous conditions that our neighbors have been kept in for days on end, even though this facility has a limit, a time limit, a 12-hour time limit that they are allowed to hold people. We know The facts are that folks have been kept for days on end. And so that's how, in this moment, we're able to exercise our oversight responsibilities. We are able to demand entry into facilities. We're able to bring in officials like Kristi Noem into the Congress to testify, and we are able to access information on behalf of the American people in accordance with our responsibilities as members of Congress under the Constitution.
I want to come back to Broadview here in just a second, and there's much more to cover. I'm curious as to what the mood is in the greater Chicago area and in Illinois, given that these ICE raids continue unabated. Never mind Governor Pritzker speaking out, and Mayor Johnson in Chicago speaking out, and Congressman Underwood speaking out, and many others. I want to take the temperature of the mood there in the state of Illinois. Much more to cover with Congresswoman Underwood when we come forward here on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy place, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just $6 every day. French toast, sausage, and eggs are, you guessed it, $6. And fluffy omelets come with a side of pancakes and only cost $6. Go to your happy plates every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take DayQuil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the DayQuil.
Undo your flu symptoms with DayQuil Intense Flu. DayQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
DayQuil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
This is the story of the one. As the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, she knows the only thing more important than having the right safety gear is having it there when you need it. That's why she partners with Grainger for auto reordering, so her team members can count on her to have cut-resistant gloves on hand, and each shift can run safely and efficiently. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Congresswoman Loyola Underwood, Democrat of Illinois, talking about these ICE raids that are continuing in the land of Lincoln and trying to assess what next steps are and what the mood is on the ground there in again, the state of Illinois. You were talking about Broadview a moment ago, and to your earlier point, this administration, the Trump administration, is denying members of Congress access to these detention and processing centers. You talked a bit a moment ago about the horrible conditions inside many of these facilities in Illinois and for that matter across the country. What do we know about what happens to these persons when they find themselves in these places like Broadview? What happens when they get on the inside?
when people are detained and taken into these processing centers, there's an interview with an officer where their personal effects are taken from them. And then I think there's a lot of waiting. We saw very few showers and toilets. We saw large open spaces with, just a television mounted on the wall. Individuals were divided into rooms, male and female. But we know that there have been children and babies even in these processing centers for days on end without proper facilities for those children. And these are not safe or sanitary places for young people to be spending any amount of time. And then we know that there's, often not private spaces for detainees to be able to consult with their attorneys. There's not private spaces for those types of telephone calls or to understand their legal rights. Within Illinois, we do not allow federal immigration detention within our state borders. So once folks are processed, then they are taken to facilities throughout the Midwest for long-term detention, and then, or whatever. I shouldn't say that everyone's in long-term detention, because some people are then obviously removed and deported to other countries. And so, but just to say that in our state, we don't allow federal immigration detentions like those private prison industry, like companies like CoreCivic or Geo or any of those are not operational within Illinois, because that is against our state law.
Yep. So I wonder if you have any sense of the profile of these detainees. And I raise that because when we talk about this issue, this program is syndicated, heard across the country, indeed, right now on WVON in Chicago. For that, I'm grateful. But we're heard across the country. But I sit in L.A. every day. And we've had these ICE raids, as you know, here in Los Angeles as well. And for the most part, these ICE raids have rounded up a lot of people who are brown as opposed to black. But I'm not naive. I've seen stories all across the country. I've been tracking this, of course, for months now, where black folk are getting caught in this trap as well. So this immigration conversation is never just about brown folk. It's about black folk as well. What's your sense of how in Chicago and Illinois, again, it's not just brown folk getting pulled into this net, as it were?
Oh, we have video evidence of these federal immigration officers flying in via helicopter, rappelling onto the roof of an apartment building in the middle of the night, banging on doors, zip tying Black kids on the south side of Chicago, putting them in their pajamas, these kids in their pajamas, zip-tied hands behind their backs into the backs of U-Hauls, claiming that they were undocumented immigrant criminal gang members. That is what's happening across Illinois every day. And now, none of those folks were charged, obviously, because they're U.S. citizens and they were not criminal alien gang members. And then, these people have seen significant disruption to their lives because of these gross, inhumane violations by federal law enforcement officers. And then when we talk about people who are immigrants, right? Because we know that, yes, there are many U.S. wrong, and we are working very hard to help make it right for those individuals who have been hurt in that way. But then for the immigrants, we're talking about teachers. We're talking about childcare workers. We're talking about construction workers. We're talking about people who are going about their lives, working hard, paying their taxes, supporting their families, who have been violently snatched out of our communities. We have seen videos of federal law enforcement showing up at the school pickup lines, taking the parent out the car, leaving the child in the back seat. We have seen all of this happen. And what's the mood in Illinois? The mood is disgust. The mood is fear. The mood is anger. Why? Because, Tavis, costs are still high. We are in an affordability crisis right now. And people see the president of the United States coming into our neighborhoods, into our communities, causing this violence and chaos and disruption, and not doing anything to improve the cost of living. People know how much this immigration enforcement costs. It's a lot of money, and we are not seeing the investment in our communities or any action taken by this administration to help make housing or healthcare or groceries more affordable. And people are mad.
Yeah. To your point about mood, what happens in Illinois? What happens more to the point in a democracy, or as I call it, an experiment in democracy, when you see people like Kristi Noem, you mentioned earlier, continue this behavior with impunity, it starts to raise, in my mind, whether or not we the people, feel like they have any agency in the process. And again, when you look at how they continue to move, as I said, with impunity, I'm curious as to how you process the fact that everyday people look at situations like this and feel like they have no power, that they are powerless, that they have no agency to stop this sort of bad behavior, as it were.
Well, I think that people understand that in our democracy, we have a choice when it comes to who we elect, who holds power in this country. And since these immigration raids have taken place, since Donald Trump has come into power, we have seen the American people rise up. We have seen mass movements like these No Kings rallies. In the Black community, we have seen an outpouring of disgust with the DEI rollbacks that the Trump administration has forced upon corporations and universities and the rest, right? And so this Target boycott situation, we have seen in an electoral context, people resoundingly reject not only Trumpism and a MAGA agenda, but to embrace a democratic message focused on affordability. And we've seen unbelievable turnout in elections in New York and New Jersey and Virginia. And just this past Tuesday in Tennessee, bright red Tennessee. And so, I reject the premise that, the average American feels powerless. I believe that the average American has rejected a politics of focusing on other people, and they want to know from their elected officials how those elected officials will be working hard to make their lives better, how those elected officials will be working hard to make life more affordable, how those elected officials will be working hard to protect their rights, and to, root out corruption.
Yep.
That's what I see happening. And the American people are stepping forward and using every opportunity to hold this Trump administration accountable.
We've got a little over 5 minutes here left, and I want to just cover a couple other things while I have you. You mentioned earlier, and you are indeed the ranking member of the House Homeland Security Appropriations Subcommittee. And as the ranking member, I'd be remiss to not ask you what your read is of this Pete Hegseth drama. The news keeps getting worse and worse for him, even as Donald Trump stands by him on the one hand, and even as your leader, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, has said this week he doubts very seriously if there'll be impeachment proceedings brought against Hegseth by the Democrats. I said earlier on this program this week that for me there's a distinct difference between witness and winning. And even if you can't win, you still have to bear witness. That's my take on it. Having said that, Hakeem says there'll be no impeachment hearings under his watch, at least, with regard to Pete Hegseth. And so he can continue, speaking of acting with impunity, you can continue bombing people and killing folks in boats, and nobody does anything about it. And the president, as I said earlier, stands by you. But the news keeps getting worse for Pete Hegseth because now we learn that the Pentagon's Signal Gate, so-called Signal Gate, everything is gate, right? A Pentagon Signal Gate review has found that Pete Hegseth did, in fact, violate military regulations. This is a report that's been underway for about 8 months into his use, Hegseth's use of Signal to share details of that planned U.S. strike against Yemen all those months ago. So now we know that he absolutely violated military regulations using Signal. And yet, again, back to agency, what's going to happen to Pete Hegseth? You're the ranking member on the House Homeland Security Appropriations Subcommittee. About that, you say what?
Well, Pete Hegseth is the Secretary of Defense, number one. He is the most unqualified individual to serve in this role. Obviously, there's real questions about his fitness for duty, his, substance abuse issues. And I certainly believe that Pete Hegseth needs to resign. I think there are real questions about war crimes in conjunction with these strikes in the Caribbean against so-called drug traffickers. And I really have a lot of concerns with his use of insecure applications like Signal to share classified information, right? It is clear that Pete Hegseth has broken the law and he should no longer be serving in that position. That is not in any question in my mind, Tavis. Right. But what I do want to remind you is that House Democrats are not in charge of anything. Democrats are not in charge of anything in our government right now. And so what that means is that we cannot impeach Pete Hegseth because we do not hold a majority. We cannot impeach any of these Trump administration officials for their, illegal actions, their gross negligence, their abuses of power, right? Their high crimes and misdemeanors, right? That's the threshold that's in the Constitution of impeachment. And so, while it may feel good, as you say, to bear witness or to hold people accountable and to have that debate, sure, let's have the debate, but let's also realize the dynamics of the situation. And in the House of Representatives, the Republicans have a 3-seat majority. And so what we are focused on doing is protecting our rights, relentlessly focused on affordability, cost of living, making sure the American people have affordable health care. We are focused on cleaning up corruption. And then we are also focused on flipping the House, Tavis, because that is how we hold the Trump administration accountable. Because at the end of the day, with the House majority, Pete Hegseth cannot order an illegal strike with the House. And if he does, he knows he'd have to be up here the next day and he would not keep his job. Yeah. And with the House majority, the President of the United States cannot openly defy Supreme Court orders. He can't have these crypto billionaires over for dinner as a fundraiser on his ripped up Rose Garden patio. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. With the House majority, the President of the United States can't bulldoze the White House.
I take all that. I take all that, and I don't disagree with you in that regard. I guess my point is simply this: that if Black people and poor people were waiting for the day when we were in the majority and had the power and the control, we wouldn't be anywhere in this country. And so my point is simply this, and I'm not trying to debate you on it. My point is simply this, that while you don't have the votes to impeach him, that doesn't stop impeachment proceedings from beginning. It doesn't stop Democrats from trying to advance a bill. If they vote it down, they vote it down. But to suggest that nothing's going to be done about it except to say he ought to resign, that to me just seems a little vacuous. It seems to me a little hollow. You take my point?
I understand your point completely. I just want to set some expectations for the American people because impeachment is not casual.
Nor should it be. Nor should it be. And neither is killing innocent people. That's not casual either.
That's right. That's right. We're in complete alignment.
Right, we
complete alignment. I just want people to understand that, yes, we can take the vote.
Right.
That vote will fail. And then we can't just run it back.
Nope, I get that part. But again, I think there is value. I think there's something to at least attempting to hold them accountable. And again, the American people aren't stupid. They see the numbers. And so you're right. You and I are in alignment on this. The data is what it is. I just think that Democrats ought to be a little more aggressive in this regard because it just reinforces the message once again that not just the president, but the Secretary of Defense and everybody else, Kristi Noem, can just, again, behave with impunity and ain't nobody going to even attempt to hold them accountable. I digress on that for now. We don't disagree on that. I thank you, though, for the work that you're doing, your work and your witness and leadership on this issue with regard to ICE. I wish I had more time because I also followed your work, your introduction of that bill to permanently lower health care costs. That's the issue on which Democrats drew a line until they didn't, until some of those Democrats crossed the line. So when you're on next time, perhaps we'll talk about that part of your work.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
An honor to have you on the program, Congresswoman Lauren Underwood, Democrat of Illinois. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Less than a year after his home was destroyed by the Eaton fire, an Altadena resident is living inside his newly built home. Wednesday, Ted Corner became the first resident to move into a brand new house that was built after the January fire.
Altadena is a very special place. I've met a lot of neighbors that I never would have known because of this fire. People have stopped by during the build.
It's the first time an Eaton fire survivor has received a certificate of occupancy for a primary residence. Serena Williams says she's not planning a tennis comeback despite reports she rejoined the sports testing pool. On X, the 23-time Grand Slam champ wrote, "I'm not coming back." Williams retired in 2022. And A$AP Rocky is now Chanel's official ambassador. Artistic director Matthew Blasey praised the rapper's creativity, while Rocky says Blasey's vision is pushing fashion forward. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and most of all, being known, loved, and protected. There are thousands of kids waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Last night in Atlanta, the Clippers played like they had a clear conscience and the weight of the world was knocked off their shoulders. Did the removal of Chris Paul have something to do with that? A very debatable subject. The Clippers dominated Atlanta 115-92 to snap a 5-game losing streak. It was only the second time this season the Clippers held an opponent below 100 points. The Clippers gave up 98 points at Golden State on October 28th, but lost that game. James Harden led the Clippers last night with 27 points and 9 assists. The Clippers' defense was so effective that Atlanta had only 14 free throw attempts. It was obvious the Clippers were in a better mood in their first game without Paul. The 12-time All-Star point guard and future Hall of Famer was released late Tuesday night for being too critical of the team. We'll see if Paul's departure keeps the Clippers in a feel-good atmosphere. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
This holiday season, KBLA Talk 1580 wishes you and yours joy, peace, and prosperity. As we celebrate with family and friends, we're already looking forward to an exciting first quarter, packed with must-attend events to kick off the new year just right. In January, join us for our inaugural Brotherhood Brunch, bringing together community leaders, change makers, and everyday people for inspiration and connection. February means it's time for our signature Black History Month luncheon, a powerful celebration you won't want to miss. And in March, Women's History Month, we're once again hosting our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium and Luncheon, addressing the issues that matter most inside our community. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, happy holidays. Stay tuned for more details on these incredible upcoming events. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice, your community, your power.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
All right, a conversation now with Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead, one of my favorite guests on this program. We'll talk about this week's 160th anniversary of the end of chattel slavery in America, and we'll talk about how we should be preparing for the 100th anniversary of Black History commemorations come 2026. Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead, how are you today?
Thank you so much, Tavis Smiley, one of my favorite radio hosts. It's always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to talk to you. That 160th anniversary, that hit me pretty hard because I hadn't processed that we'd arrived at that particular number, and it's fascinating to be commemorating, celebrating, pick your word, the end of chattel slavery in this country in a moment such as this. But tell me how you frame it.
Thank you so much for that. This is an important moment because I think that people are under the illusion that Black history is an American history and that Black history can be erased. Black history can be dismantled. Black history can only happen if somebody that comes from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue gives us the okay for us to move forward. We have to remind ourselves, like Frederick Douglass said, our blood is in the soil of this land. We go back to the founding of this country. We're the ones that made America, America, and taking our attention for just a second off of things like Juneteenth, which I'm a big supporter of. I'm from South Carolina, taking things off the lie of the Emancipation Proclamation and go back to the truth. The truth is, it was on December 6th of 1865 with the ratification of the 13th Amendment that two things happened, right? One, we know Michelle Alexander talks about, you had the institution of the mass industrial prison complex because they set us free and they said we could still keep people enslaved in prison, which goes on to explain why we have such a high number of Black men incarcerated today, because that keeps that slave system alive. But we have to talk about what does it mean for the abolition of slavery? What does it mean for the end of involuntary servitude? And what does it mean for all of this to happen with a criminal exception? Mm-hmm. It helps to frame where we are today and what we're still fighting against and what we're fighting for.
Yep. That criminal exception all those years ago has placed us where all these years later?
So that criminal exception all those years ago allowed them to build an industrial prison complex of free labor on our backs. Mm-hmm. Once you set up a system where it's based upon enslaving bodies, then you need bodies to be enslaved to support the system. And who better to support a system of bodies being enslaved than those that were formerly enslaved, that you don't recognize their humanity and you don't recognize their citizenship. Because remember, with 1865, that didn't give us our citizenship. We had to wait till 1868 with the 14th Amendment to get our citizenship. And then we didn't get the protection of voting rights for Black men until 1870. Like this was a 5-year process. Mm-hmm. To get us to some type of real reckoning in this country. But in the interim, they started building this mass industrial prison complex, particularly throughout the South with chain gangs, and scooping up Black men and boys to work out their labor through these systems. Well, what I think is really fascinating, and I know, Tavis, like me, I'm sure you've rented a car before. Mm-hmm. I know when I drive my car, I'm very careful where I park it. I'm always checking the oil. I make sure that the wheels are good. When I'm driving a rental car, I get the insurance and I drive that car as hard as I can. Because it's not mine, right? I'm like, I don't have to take care of it. Mm-hmm. When plantation owners owned enslaved people, they took care of them a little bit better than those they got from the mass industrial prison complex. Yeah. Those are not my people. They worked them until they dropped dead. It was some of the highest amounts of Black men dropping dead during that system, because then they'd have the bodies drop dead and they just bring more out of prison to work and do things for you.
Yeah. And how are you processing this anniversary this week, December the 6th, the 160th anniversary of the end of chattel slavery? How are you processing this particular anniversary at this particular time in American political history?
I think we have to use these moments, Tavis, to remind us that this is an American capitalist empire, and that empires don't last forever. And those who want to govern and believe they're in charge, you don't last forever. We've been here before this. We have survived much worse in this country. This is a moment where we can remember what it means to have a tenacious spirit. Now, I will let you in on a secret here, Mr. Smiley, if I may.
Please, I love secrets. Give it to me.
I got a little secret here.
Yeah.
But as the president of ASALA, Carter G. Woodson's organization,
Sure.
going into the 100th year of Black History Month commemorations, my theme for 2026 is the harder the wind, the stronger the roots. Because we understand that trees get stronger because the wind blows. And every time the wind blows with the tree, they dig the roots in a little bit deeper. Black folks have survived winds in this country. We need to keep going down to the fact that our roots go deep. This anniversary should remind us that we've come through storms before, we dug in our roots, and we will go through this storm and we will make it to the other side.
That's a great theme. You don't need me to say it, though. It's a great theme. The heart of the wind, the stronger the roots. I love it. And yet, I don't need to tell you this. It is clear to me that if the right, the political right, continues to have its way, with the support of the U.S. Supreme Court, all those rights that we have gained because of our hard fight are being stripped away day by day. At our best, this democracy, or as I always call it, an experiment in democracy, is always made better when we are expanding rights and not shrinking rights. But again, I don't need to tell you this. You talk about it every day on your show in Baltimore, that we are witnessing in real time the shrinking of rights every single day. So that it is not a foregone conclusion for me that the rights that we hold dearly today, or hold dear today, regarding race and justice, run the list, that those rights are, again, being stripped away in real time. And so I'm always mindful of what you said earlier, that these commemorations, these anniversaries are times for us to be reminded that the harder the wind, the stronger the roots. But the rights being stripped away, that's real, Kaye. That's real.
It is real, and it makes it even more difficult. I have to remind people that this is why they have to get involved. They have to practice what I said back in January, Mr. Smiley, even on here on your show earlier this year, where I said you need to practice daily acts of resistance. Resistance is a muscle, and we have to push back against what is happening in this country. We are losing and gaining and losing and gaining our rights every day under this administration, because part of Project 2025 is to have you confused, is to have you overwhelmed, is to have you feel like there's no way out. We have to cut through that and keep reminding everyone around us that there is a pathway forward through organizing, through resistance, through making intentional choices with our money, through showing up to rallies, through showing up to vote, through supporting people that are running against those that are in power, the monsters that we have to get removed. We are in a fight right now. It's not just for the lives and livelihood of Black people. We're talking about democracy. Democracy has to stand because that's the place where Black people find ourselves. We can't say this is not our fight, let democracy fall, and assume we're going to be okay on the other side. No. Our lives are tied to democracy standing in this country. It is indeed burning down. My thing, and Janae Nelson from the Legal Defense Fund said this best. Hey, let it all burn down. We've got to plan for what we're going to build on the other side. Why not build a system where we actually do have equity, where we actually do celebrate diversity? Since it's burning anyway, plan for what comes next. Because nobody wants to go back to the America we lived in on January 19th, the day before he was inaugurated. That wasn't working for Black people either. So what can we set up beyond this? Because this form of democracy can't be safe. He's burning that down.
Yeah.
What comes next?
Kaye Wise Whitehead is as real as they come. So I want to be real with her and frame this now. Let her respond to it when we come forward here in just a second. But again, while we celebrate this week, on December 6th, the 160th anniversary of the end of chattel slavery, we know that for all the obvious reasons, our ancestors in many ways could not fight back. They did the best they could, given the circumstances they found themselves in as enslaved Africans, and yet they could not fight back. We have the power, we have the capacity in 2025 to fight back. But I wonder about the fatigue factor. We can fight if we choose to. But I wonder 160 years later about the fatigue factor. Put another way, are we our parents? Are we our grandparents? Are we our great-grandparents? Are we our great-great-grandparents? No. No, we are not. What does that mean? More to cover with Kaye Wise Whitehead when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
KBLA Talk 1580 remembers Robin Ayers on the 1-year anniversary of her passing. 1 year ago this week, we lost a remarkable and vibrant voice. Robin Ayers touched countless lives through her passion, her love, her service, and her smile, which you could see through the radio. KBLA Talk 1580 honors her memory and celebrates the legacy she left behind. Robin, your spirit lives on in every conversation, in every connection, and in every one of us, inspired by your voice. Gone but never forgotten. KBLA Talk 1580, where voices matter.
I'm missing you. Tell me why the road turns. I'm missing you. Tell me why the road turns.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Everyday penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead, founding director of the Karson Institute for Race, Peace, and Social Justice at Loyola University Maryland, award-winning talk show host there in Baltimore, documentarian, etc., etc., etc. Just brilliant sister who I'm always honored to be in conversation with. Kaye, you know that we are not our grandparents. We're not our great-grandparents. We don't have the fortitude. We don't have the
we
fight.
Do have something, though.
Yeah,
we do have something.
Yeah, but we ain't got the fight they had. We are soft. I'm just keeping it real. We are soft. We are entitled. And here we are 160 years after the end of chattel slavery. Goodness. And what are we going to do?
So I will say, and I do love this discussion because we get it a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I take people back to which is kind of the origins of my research. As I go back and I look at newspapers from the 19th century, and some of the complaints in the 19th century were older, established Black people talking about the young people saying, you know what, they're entitled.
Yeah.
They don't know how to fight. They don't know what they do. We were complaining about the next generation back in the 1900s. That's also when we were arguing about what to call ourselves.
Right.
Are we Black? Are we colored? Are we African Americans? So we've been having two fights forever, complaining about the next generation and whether or not we're going to call ourselves Black, colored, or something else, right? So these are ongoing discussions. I think that every generation has to rise to the occasion that that is in front of them.
Right.
I am not my parents. They had to rise to the occasion of what was happening with the civil rights movement in Jim Crow, South Carolina. If that was a situation I was in, I would probably have risen to the occasion. Why? Because that was all that I knew. I am not my great-great-grandparents who were rising to the occasion of dealing with American slavery. They were born into it. That is their situation. This is where we are. We are rising to meet the situation that we're in, which deals with this fight of democracy, which deals with impending AI, which deals with the rising illiteracy rates of our children. We have the issues that we are prepared to deal with because this is who we are. The time for Donald Trump, which I call a necessary evil that happened with a generation that's prepared to deal with it, we have the tools in front of us. We have the mechanisms to combat him.
We have the mechanism. So what then is our mandate?
Our mandate is to do three things. And I'm glad you said that because I stay with this. So one, and I'm talking specifically for Black people and anyone else who loves the American historical narrative, is protecting, preserving, and promoting Black history. Because that is about our stories. That is about the history of America. That is about what it means to have a spirit of tenacity. That's about the courageousness that's already embedded in us. We can look to the stories of a Fannie Lou Hamer, of a Septina Poinsetta Clark, that can show us what we're supposed to do. Because what were they doing there at the Highlander Institute, Tavis? They were learning. They were being taught. They were having, simulations so they can get prepared. They didn't say go march today. They said come learn what to do when you march, right? We got to get back to training our people. So that's one thing we have to do, Black history, that preserving, promoting, and protecting. The second thing we have to do is we actually have to learn about the importance of democracy. We can't talk and shout about democracy if we don't even understand what it is. And the fact that we've never had a democratic republic, right? We've actually never experienced a situation where there's been true democracy. Okay, we can't say we want democracy to remain when we actually never had it and we actually don't know what it is. So we need to go back to teaching about democracy and learning about what does it mean to be civically engaged. There's a reason why, Tavis, they took civics training out of school. They took it out so long ago. Now you have generations, and I'm including my generation, Generation X, the millennials, Gen Zs, some of the younger boomers that have no idea about civic engagement. They don't know the power of their vote or their voice. We need to go back to teaching about democracy and civic engagement. And the third thing, which I think comes up strong in the 60s, we got to go back to community engagement and community inclusiveness. I'm not just talking about rent parties, right? I'm just talking about blue light parties. I'm talking about understanding that all politics are local. Being angry at Trump, I understand that I wake up angry every single day, but I also need to say the same type of fire for my governor, my mayor, my council person. Politics are local. It is going to take the local politicians to protect us from what's happening nationally.
So this week is the 160th anniversary of the end of chattel slavery, but we're pushing toward 2026. And if we make it there, we will be commemorating the 100th anniversary of these Black History commemorations in February. And my exit question for Kaye is how we process that 100 years later of celebrating Black accomplishment when we find ourselves in a moment where the institutions that have been on the vanguard, on the forefront of teaching what little Black history we do teach, are now under threat for teaching it. That's our exit question when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. BenefitsCheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
And we are inside a 60-day countdown to the 100th anniversary of Black History commemorations. And we find ourselves, as we all know, in a moment where the institutions that have, against all the odds, taught what little Black history is being taught these days are now under threat for teaching that history. So situate this 100th anniversary inside that frame, Kaye Wise Whitehead.
And thank you so much, Tavis. It is always a pleasure to be able to speak with you as we kind of do an East Coast, West Coast framing of these issues in a good way. East Coast, West Coast in a good way,
there
right?
You go, in a good way.
But I think that as we are counting down, we're 59 days out to the beginning of Black History Month. What concerns me most, before I tell you what we should do, and I know I don't have much time, it concerns me that people don't know the history of Black History Month. We still have folks inside and outside of our community saying things like, they gave us the shortest month of the year, rather than understanding that it was launched by Carter G. Woodson Negro History Week. And that the challenge was for our community, for us to teach our children about the importance of Black history. Like, this is something that we had to do. And so when we look at this and we look at this framing, we know that this moment is important for us to teach about the importance of Black History Month and why we even have this commemoration. And I challenge people finally to take what I call the Woodson Challenge. For the next 59 days, I'm telling people to do 3 things, Tavis. One, move your body, because we need to be able to move. We're going to have to march. We're going to have to be able to, if the cheese gets moved, we got to be able to move with it. So do something every day. You know, walk up the stairs, park a little bit farther, but exercise your brain. Number 2, learn one new Black history fact every day and teach someone. If you are in your coffee shop, you can stand up and teach people. Nobody can stop you. Just speak out into whatever environment you're in. And then 3, do one small daily act of resistance. You got to build that resistance muscle. If you do that for the next 59 days, no matter what happens, you're physically able to move, you're mentally able to move, and you're spiritually able to move to meet the moment as we celebrate 100 years of Black history commemorations in America. We're going to do that, and we're going to do it up well from the East to the West Coast.
I'm pushing toward a conversation with Dr. Cornell West here in just a minute or two. So in this last minute, I'm circling back to your theme for next year. I love it. The harder the wind, the stronger the root. Dr. West is fond of saying that our roots determine our roots, or routes if you prefer. Our roots determine our roots. Are we headed in the right direction?
We are. I think as long as we keep our eye on where we eventually want to be. And for me, that's the Sankofa. I'm moving us forward, but I have my eyes on where we used to be. I'm pushing forward knowing we have our ancestors behind us and we got the babies in front of us. What we need to do is pack up and keep moving forward as a community, because we can do this, Tavis. As long as we have voices like yours out in the West Coast, we have mine on the East Coast, we will keep moving this country closer to that tree of truth.
And I am moving forward to a conversation with Cornell West at the top of the second hour.
Right.
But for now,
I
thank Dr. Kaye Wise Whitehead for always popping in here with brilliant insights. I love you. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Less than a year after his home was destroyed by the Eaton fire, an Altadena resident is living inside his newly built home. Wednesday, Ted Corner became the first resident to move into a brand new house that was built after the January fire.
Altadena is a very special place. I've met a lot of neighbors that I never would have known because of this fire. People have stopped by during the build.
It's the first time an Eaton fire survivor has received a certificate of occupancy for a primary residence. Serena Williams says she's not planning a tennis comeback despite reports she rejoined the sports testing pool. On X, the 23-time Grand Slam champ wrote, "I'm not coming back." Williams retired in 2022. And A$AP Rocky is now Chanel's official ambassador. Artistic director Matthew Blasey praised the rapper's creativity, while Rocky says Blasey's vision is pushing fashion forward. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and most of all, being known, loved, and protected. There are thousands of kids waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Last night in Atlanta, the Clippers played like they had a clear conscience and the weight of the world was knocked off their shoulders. Did the removal of Chris Paul have something to do with that? A very debatable subject. The Clippers dominated